We are going to call to order this meeting at 7:05 p.m. And I have invited Ron Etheridge, the Minister of Music at the First Baptist Church, to come and give our invocation today. Please stand.
Let's pray. Our great God and Father, we praise you because you are worthy of praise. Father, in this holiday season, sometimes it's hard to hear past the rush of the shoppers and the cash registers. And sometimes it's hard to see you beyond the light of the holiday decorations. But Lord, this season, above all, we should seek your face. If we miss you, we've surely missed all. Remind us of the gift we've been given, and remind us to give to others. Lord, we ask this evening that you send your blessings to these who serve through leadership in our city's government. Lord, grant them wisdom, for the issues are complex. Grant them courage, for the decisions are often unpopular. But give them a heart for this work that puts the public good over personal gain. And Lord, we pray in the name of him whose birth we celebrate at Christmas, and who taught us that the way to real leadership is through service, and the way to true honor is through sacrifice. Amen.
To the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Ron. As you can see, this evening things are a little bit different. We actually have microphones, so hopefully we can be heard. And we have a microphone at the podium. If anybody needs to speak, can you please stand up at the podium to speak and let us, so that you can be heard by the audience. One thing that I'd like to say, we're changing up the agenda a little bit this evening, and it's going to be a ongoing process to try to make things better and easier to understand. For one thing, the mayor will always have a comment, and each councilman will have an opportunity to comment at this time during the meeting. So I'm going to say, last night we had a emergency where we had a water main break. There were lots of phone calls that came in. I will say one thing. If you go on to the Code Red website and register, there would have been a whole lot less phone calls, because I received a phone call, a text, and an email from Code Red stating what the emergency was, and then that really saved me from having to worry about what was going on, that I didn't have any water. So just FYI, you can go onto the Code Red website and register. You can register your phone number, your email. You can opt all different options on there on how you want to be contacted. So, and if you can help us get the word out there, we'll probably try to post that information on the city website so that you will be privy to that information also. And if you know anybody out in the community that's elderly, can you please help them to register on that, because a lot of those folks aren't, they don't have the communication where we can communicate that information to them. And if you know somebody that needs help with that, please let the city know, and we'll be happy to help them do that. Also, I would like to introduce our new city manager, Philip Rodriguez. He's been here 2 weeks and 2 days today, and he's done a fantastic job. And welcome him, and he's open to meeting with anybody that feels like it's necessary to bring something to his attention. Do any of the councilmen want to make any comments? Jack? Casey?
No, just not.
John?
I just want to say that we went through quite a process to get Philip here. We all feel that we made the right choice and that he's going to be a great addition to our city moving forward. And hopefully it'll be a long tenure. So, thank you. Welcome.
Okay, one more thing. We have changed up the agenda just a little bit. There's going to be 2 opportunities for you as citizens to make comments, but you do have to sign up. And you have to sign up to speak prior to the regular agenda. So if anybody wants to sign up, they have to sign up prior to that point in the agenda. And we are moving up item number 10, and right after I get through speaking today. There will be citizen comments that will be made, and that's on non-agenda items. So anything that's not on the agenda, if you feel like it's important for the council to hear that, you will have the opportunity to speak during that time. You will also have the opportunity to speak on agenda items at the time that that agenda item is up for discussion. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. And I just thank everybody for coming tonight. This is a really large crowd, and I just appreciate that everybody cares enough to come and show up to these meetings. So we are at this time, due to a request, going to move item number 10 up on the agenda to this right now. And please call up item number 10.
Item number 10, consider and take action regarding the vacancy on City Council Place 5. A, consideration of appointing Billy Flake. B, consideration of appointing other nominees. C, allow vacancy to exist until the next election in May of 2012.
There has been a situation that has come up on the council where there's been a vacancy on City Council Place number 5. At this time, we are going to consider taking or reappointing Billy Flake, or taking nominations from any other councilman, or allowing that vacancy to exist open until the election in May. Any comments?
I'd like to move that we put Billy Flake back on the council.
Can we have a discussion first?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Any discussion? We have some people that would like to speak on this item. We have Robert Lewis. Robert Lewis, if you could come up to the podium and address the council, please.
We have a motion to get home.
We have to discuss first.
Oh, I realize that.
First of all, I'd like to take an opportunity to thank y'all for letting me speak on this behalf. I want to know first what the council was thinking about when they done this. They broke the law. This law is not any different than driving while intoxicated. You broke the law when you done what you done with this council. Okay, and I don't know whether the city attorney advised y'all of anything different, whether you could do this or you couldn't. But I made phone calls to the state attorney general about this and got the paperwork on this. What y'all done was against the law. So my deal is Mr. Blake at the same time broke the law because he accepted it. The law says that he's resigned automatically whether you wanted to or not. Okay, now, whether it takes all of you guys to vote and put him back on, I don't know. I didn't research it. Okay, but I feel like the city attorney should have been advising y'all of the laws of which you have broke. Okay, my deal is how long was Mr. Blake interim city manager? And my next question is why did the council not go back and let the mayor take that position for 2 weeks until we got our new city manager in place? Then you would have broken no laws. So, as I'm standing here looking at y'all as a whole, every one of y'all are not any better than the man driving up and down the road drunk and intoxicated, because you have broke the law. Okay? Now, my question is, Mr. Blake, when he was in that position, what was his first order to be carried out?
Should I answer, or I don't know?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Then,
Was there any, orders that were given while you were in that position?
I did not receive any. Were there any orders given to Billy? Mr. Plate, or did Mr. Plate give the staff any?
Yeah, did Mr. Flint give the staff any directions?
I can only speak for myself. I did not receive any direction from Mr. Plate as far as how to perform my job and duties.
did he order any work orders to be performed? This is what I'm getting at. He took this role and these responsibilities. Somebody should have checked the laws before they made this. This is all my gripe with. My recommendation is I don't want to see Billy Blake back on the council. Because if he's going to make mistakes like this, why do we want to reappoint him? Know your laws before you go into it. You know, if I'm running down the road drinking and driving, Chief Spindler's going to arrest me and put me in jail. He's done the same thing. He's broke the law. So what I'm asking the council is to leave that seat vacant and let's go on down the road and present it and do a good job for the city and not break any more laws. Thank you.
We have Amelia Giles.
I am speaking tonight primarily as a citizen and also as the Vice President of the Alstyne CDC. We would like very much to have Billy Blake keep his council position, and if legally you have to reappoint him, he has been elected by the citizens. And I think at the bottom of all of this is citizens voted, regardless of whether we agree with who people voted for or not. He won a legal election by the citizens who are represented by this whole board. I think it's unfortunate when City Council chooses to have a private or closed meeting, because the citizens, especially in a town this small, we're all working really hard to communicate better. There's always a lot of questions and stories on all different sides, and it becomes confusing and it can blow up into something much larger than it is. I would like to see the council just tell the citizens that in the future they will ask for direction from the city attorney for any kind of decision that is as serious as changing the way that the charter is by which our city is run, which we are supposed to be run by a city manager type government. I understand there were a lot of feelings on either side. As my personal feeling was, I was appalled that we removed someone from office, the interim manager. When we had a new manager, everybody was really excited about coming in and within a short time. But since we're all trying to communicate better, the most important thing for us and for the CDC, because we understand former council member Blake's decision, that he didn't know that there were legal ramifications, and I'm sure he assumed that the city attorney would have apprised him of that, and the council overall, if we just consult the city attorney, that should keep us in good stead. But the most important thing is he was elected by the citizens, so I'd like to see him have his position.
Thank you, Michelle. John Jennings.
Thank you. I agree with the first gentleman. I'm sorry I didn't get your name. I fully realize that Mr. Flake was elected in a legal election. He won a very tight contested race. I believe it was by 8 votes. The gentleman who he ran against was very cordial in that loss. There was no re-election called for, as close as it was. And I agree also that this reflects badly on the entire council. The problem we're looking at is each one of you are elected to represent the citizens of the city. And to meet, convene, and take this type of action without knowing the action that would be involved afterwards is inexcusable on each of you. The seat held by Mr. Flake, I have attended many council meetings over the past few months. We have watched as some of the things have changed and the new mayor came into office. And nothing personal against Mr. Flake. I'm a neighbor of Mr. Flake's. But there is a large group of his neighbors in Georgetown who feel he is not representing the citizens of Van Alstyne as he should. He is somewhat uninformed, ineffective in decisions. We have already begun looking at the means possible to call for a re-election. I've gotten the word up off the word now. Recall in this coming May. Simply because of some of the decisions we've seen made on Mr. Flake. For this reason, I would like to see the vacancy left as it is until May. And one question I would like to ask also is, if he is seated back in this council, does it come up for re-election in May, or is it filled permanently for the entire term as originally elected?
I can't answer that question for you. I researched that, and the position will be appointed back until May.
So there will be a
It'll be
re-election in May?
a special election for that position.
Whether he's reappointed or not? It's my feelings that, given the circumstances, the situation and how it's made the council look, it would be unwise to make another bad decision. There is a large feeling within the city that we need to move forward in new directions. I myself have plans to run for a council seat this coming May. In all likelihood against probably Mr. Warner. And I think the city needs to head forward and not move back, and I think reinstating Mr. Flake would be a step back. Thank you.
We have Pat Patterson.
I agree with Robert and Mr. Jennings there. And I served 19 years on this thing, and I knew he had broke the law when I heard what had happened that Saturday. And I agree with everything they said, but there's one thing that I was proud of what they put in the paper about, reappointing this and that. There's one thing that I didn't see in the paper, and I want to ask about it. And we had the same thing one time when I was on the council. And it took a super majority to appoint him back on the city council. So that means it takes 4 votes, and he can't vote for himself to put him back on. So I want to know whether anybody knows about a super majority or whatever. I think this board was our attorney, or her firm was our attorney when we had that thing with Willie and Ben. Were you attorney then?
I don't recall.
And I really can't understand why. I mean, when you hold your right hand up and swear to uphold the laws of Texas, all of y'all all knew that you break the law. I don't understand how you not know that and being a city council. And I'm hearing that Miss Judy told y'all how big a mistake you was making, and you still make a mistake. If you can't really be a lawyer, what in the world are you doing on the council? I don't understand. And ain't no way in the world that man can get back on without a super majority. It's gonna take 4 of the city council votes to put him back on, and he can't vote for himself.
in the local government code, section 22.010, which is for type A general law municipalities, which Van Alstyne is, says, and I'll just read, it's a 2-sentence paragraph. If for any reason a single vacancy exists on the governing body of the municipality, a majority of the remaining members, excluding the mayor, may fill the vacancy by appointment. And then there's an exception if your terms are longer than 3 years, then that changes the rule, but you only have 2-year terms. So the mayor doesn't count, there's 4 left, it's a majority of the remaining 4.
Mayor, can I ask you, would that considered to be a 4-person vote?
Can you come back up here?
Okay. I think that's pretty much what I said, it takes a majority, and that means a super majority. So it takes 4 people to put him back on. So the council was fine.
Half. But there's 4 sitting right now, so the majority would be 3.
The vacant seat doesn't count.
The vacant seat does not count.
Well, whenever, if he does get reappointed, can I have that in writing?
I'll give you a copy of this.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. M.J. Presley?
Madam Mayor, gentlemen of the council, first off, welcome to Van Alstyne. We're proud to have you with us. I appreciate it. We're looking forward to the direction you take the city. I thank you for this opportunity to speak. I apologize, my back is to y'all. I know you understand. I voted for Mr. Clay. I was proud to vote for him. My opinion as a voter, he has stepped down from the city council. That tells me he does not want to serve in that position. Let's honor that request. I asked you gentlemen, do not reinstate him to that position. I was recently at a homeowners meeting where Mr. Blake was present. He responded to a couple of issues that was brought up. One was, does the homeowners association laws and regulations supersede that of the city? Setting pretty much in this general area where I am standing, he said, yes, it does. No, it does not. The city supersedes. Many of my neighbors were there. They heard him say this. The subject of the lights on Village Parkway came up, turning them over to the city. He stated the city would be glad to take them over and replace them with wooden poles. Gentlemen, growth in Van Alstyne is coming. We can either get prepared for it or get run over by it. It would be better, my humble opinion as a voter, to leave the seat open than to replace it with somebody who has turned his back on the voters of Van Alstyne. Madam Mayor.
Mr. Kevin McCarthy?
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I don't want to go over things they've already addressed. They pretty much answered most of the questions I had. I just had one question. Was there a recommendation for the vacancy, for the temporary vacancy, and if so, who was that? Who recommended that position?
The temporary vacancy in the city manager?
Was there someone selected among city council?
Not in
Was there
the
a
position.
recommendation made? Was there any recommendation made for a person, other person?
The discussion was not that somebody would become the city manager. The discussions I recall having with the mayor, and if I'm wrong, correct me, is that the local government code authorizes certain powers to be conferred on the mayor by the city council. It has that same authorization for any other officer, which would be the council members. So when I discussed it with her, I did think it was going to be her who would be conferred those powers. But the analysis is the same, whether it was her or any other council member, that powers can be conferred upon that person. That person was not going to become an employee or paid or become the city manager. It's not the same thing as granting them some powers.
The recommendations for the mayor to take the position.
No, I just gave advice that there was authority that allowed someone to be given those powers. It's the council's choice who that's going to be. I thought the mayor as the ceremonial head of the council would be an obvious choice for that, but it wasn't my decision where they wanted to fill that role.
I'm sorry, was the city council members informed that they couldn't appoint a council member to that position? Or the decision
No,
was
they
made?
no.
Okay. Like I said, I don't want to go over what the other gentleman asked. I just think, going on what they said, I think the decision was made and council should have to live with their decision. You don't get a do overall. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Brenda and Gary McDonald. Or Brenda McDonald. Brenda.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. Rules are rules, and when rules are broken, you abide by the rules. We have a city that our little town is growing, and if we don't live by the rules, and if we don't start doing things by the rules, then we're not going to do well. The rules are there for a reason, and when they're broken, you face the consequences, and that's just the way it is. I've had to deal with that this past year, and yes, I had to make some decisions against really good friends, but rules are rules, and we're supposed to abide by them. Mr. Plague, very nice man. It has nothing to do with personalities, has nothing to do with anything but rules or rules, and we have to abide by them. And hopefully we will continue to do so. So I hope that everyone will make the choice to abide by the rules and not start a trend of stepping outside and making, what word am I looking for here? We need to stick to the rules, that's all I'm trying to say. So that's just all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's it on that agenda item. Can you repeat your motion?
I move that we put Mr. Blake back in his position on the city council.
I second that motion.
Is there any discussion?
I'd like to make a couple of comments. I'm usually, unless I'm totally ignorant of the law, I normally don't break the law. We did the action we took, we felt with the information that we had was totally appropriate to do. Had I known otherwise, there's no way under the sun that I would have voted the way that is. So it's only the right thing to do to reinstate Mr. Blake.
I'd like to add to that as well, because it wasn't necessarily like Billy jumping out there raising his hand, wanting to go forward and necessarily wanting this position. We did discuss it, and Billy accepted what we had discussed and asked him if he would take this position or do this for us. And it wasn't him necessarily. He was doing it because he was wanting to do what he could to help the situation out.
And I'll further comment that the morning when we had the meeting in City Hall, our attorney was there with us, and we were not informed that we were breaking any laws. That's all I have to say.
And it was posted.
Pardon me?
It was posted as well. It wasn't like going into hiding or in the back door. It was posted.
It was not an executive session, it was an open,
It was open
just like this meeting is tonight. It was not an executive session. The public would not have been able to be there.
But I was referring to when you decided to let the
No,
acting city manager
we're not,
go.
we're not up for discussion anymore from the audience, I'm sorry. Do we have a second?
Yes.
Okay, Councilman Trammell motions to reappoint Billy Plank to the seat of council place 5. Casey Mosby, Councilman Mosby seconds. All in favor, say aye, or raise your hand. All opposed? Councilman Trammell, Mosby, and Foreman voted for. Councilman Smith against. We're going to take a quick recess and allow Councilman to come back to the table. Thank you. We have some unfinished business. We need to allow Councilman Blake to take the oath of office to officially be appointed back to his position at Council Place 5.
In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, I, Billy Plank, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of council member, place 5 of the state of Texas, and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state, so help me God.
Thank you. We're concluding item number 10. We're going to move on to citizens communications, and we have Brandy Crow from the Van Alstyne ISD, who's the GT coordinator, and she has some letters from GT students that she would like to share with the council regarding a recycling.
Thank you guys for letting us come. We've been working on this project since school started. We know that recycling is a big issue in Van Alstyne. It's important to you guys as well as it is us. And we just spent a lot of time researching the benefits of recycling. We recycled the elementary school, and we're hoping that the city will pick up recycling as well, which will help us and the school and the community both. We've made posters and we've written letters, and we just want to share those with you. So if you'd allow us to share those with you. Okay, guys, these are some of my gifted students from school, and they're going to go ahead and pass them out to the council members, okay? You can pass them along, make sure everyone gets to see something, and they can just look at them. They put a lot of hard work and effort and spent lots of time researching and compiling all their information. We'll take some of those and pass them down those letters down there so they can see. Okay. There's letters in there. We know you don't have time to go through all of it. We understand that, but they put a lot of work into it. Recycling is it's really important to us in elementary school as it is to the city.
Ms. Crow, can you introduce each one of them?
Yes, absolutely. All right, tell them your name and what grade you're in. Callie Blankenship, she's in 2nd grade. We're in 2nd grade. Tracy. Fourth grade.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
And Aaron.
Aaron at Bridge, fourth grade. Thank you.
I can't get them all in. They're moving so fast.
Thank you, guys. We will definitely take a look at this, and we know the importance of recycling. We will definitely take your recommendation into consideration.
Can I stand behind on it? That's not normal. Thank you, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. That's important. It's important to me. And the children. Get them in time. All right, now step up that you're blocked. All right.
You're good.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you, student, GT student.
No, that's not.
Okay,
That's 3
now
minutes. That's
we
public
have
forum. That's another word for public forum.
Mr.
Use
Gary
that.
McDonald. Are you? Oh, go ahead. We have Lori Armstrong. She wants to make a comment on the recycling.
Thank you. Well, I'm here to represent not only the schools, but the residents of Van Alstyne. We are hoping that you all will consider writing a letter informing our current service provider for waste, that you will be looking at, or that you will consider looking at some other contract options with different services. Some of the services have said that they may offer recycling pickup for free to our schools if they get the city contract. So I'm hoping that you'll kind of send in that letter, look at some of the other options out there, and maybe get recycling for free for our schools. Since there's not any grants coming from the state anymore, schools can't afford to pay for the recycling pickups at the campuses. So if it's not something that is done for free, they won't be able to continue with even teaching recycling. And part of the problem is that they're being taught recycling now at the school, and the teachers can't go home and follow through with recycling because there's no place in our precinct 1 to drop off recycling. There's only one place in. Okay. There is a place in Sherman, but it's for Sherman residents only, and the location that is in at 455 and 3356 Weston is actually closes at 3, so anybody that works full-time can't get there. They're closed on the weekends as well. So it's hard for any working families that have kids, any families at all, and teachers who are the ones trying to teach this, they have no place to bring the recycling. Then our city one that is once a month has, in my opinion, proven itself to be an ineffective failure. The reason is because within the first hour and a half of it being open, it's usually full. So I have seen myself personally 4 or 5 times that I've been through there, people with big pickup trucks with trailers full of recycling that they've accumulated for a month not be able to drop off there. Then what are they going to do? Where do you store that much stuff for a whole nother month to try and make it here to be the first 1 or 2 people here in that first Saturday morning of the month? So it becomes a problem if the kids are learning it in school, but they can't follow through at home because there's not any place to recycle. So some of the services, the other services out there have offered our community to be able to have carts, individual carts at everybody's home at curbside pickup for nominal cost, under $5 a month, $3 a month. So I'm just asking if you all will please write the letter to our current provider saying we are going to consider other options within that 90-day window before that contract ends. And then consider some of the other options that come your way and think about what you'll be able to provide for the schools and the residents who would like to be able to recycle who can't.
Okay, Lori, I am going to address this because I have some facts on this. Keep Van Alstyne Beautiful has worked very hard to make the once a month drop off as amicable as possible with the means that they have to do that in. And they are extremely aware of the, what's the word I'm looking for? That it's not adequate for the volume, But their hands are tied in many areas, and they are very open to anybody coming in and helping advance that program. And I will also say that we have already moved towards looking at other contract options that, and Mr. Rodriguez and myself have already visited about the opportunity with those new contracts to get recycling attached to those contracts. So we are working on it.
Wonderful. Do we presently have 2 dumpsters or just one?
I believe we have 2 dumpsters, but
Okay.
they fill up
I knew we added a
extremely
second
fast.
dumpster, but I didn't know.
And we were promised to.
Yeah, I knew we requested.
Can we answer that question?
We can't
Yes.
take, if you signed up to speak, then we can, but I will say that you can contact Keep Van Alstyne Beautiful. They will allow you to come and help them in any way possible, or any other citizen in the community that would like to do some phone calling or footwork or anything for that. So, thank you.
Have they given you a specific fee charge for like once, twice a week or
Once
whatever?
a week,
the-
$3 a month. For once a week,
Well, I mean,
individual
at
pickup.
the specific to the schools.
The schools
Yeah.
would be free if they
Okay.
get the city contract.
But did they give you a cost if it were like, if you folks decided that, okay, we can have a bake sale or something? I'm not saying go do that, but did you get a
The
quote?
number 500 comes to mind.
Really?
I think I've heard that. But that's per school.
Wow.
And the schools don't have it in their budget. As you
Right.
know, they've gone through so many cutbacks that they can't do it.
Okay.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Mr. McDonald, Mr. Gary McDonald, did you sign up? It says number 10 and number 5, so. No? No?
Pass.
Okay, pass. If anybody else wants to sign up to speak, quickly. We're not to the consent regular agenda yet. If anybody else wants to sign up to speak?
Yeah, I'd like to.
Thank you for allowing me to speak on such short notice.
Mr.
I'm addressing Paul Curley. I'm a resident of Van Alstyne. I've lived here for many, many years. For the last 10 years, I've lived within the city limits. The Keep Van Alstyne Beautiful has worked with the city and has got a monthly recycling program that runs on the first Saturday of the month, usually from 9 until noon. Now, we have a dumpster available. It's a closed dumpster, and it's not the most convenient thing in the world to use, but it's what we've got, and so we use it. The city, I believe it was about a year ago, authorized us to have a second dumpster because of the overflow. And the reality of it is I think I've been on this for probably 3 or 4 years. And in that period of time, we have filled up the one dumpster we have, we filled it up no more than twice. So we've got plenty of room. Typically, the traffic stops by 11 o'clock in the morning. Very rarely if we have to stay until noon. The city holds the yard open till noon, so that if anyone wants to bring their trash in and they're delayed because of other things they're doing, they can still come in and dump their trash. The main traffic that we get on Saturday is not people recycling, it's people dumping their trash. And there's a dumpster that the city maintains right next to the recycled dumpster that it takes any kind of building materials or any other garbage. That thing is full by 9 o'clock in the morning. I think the city will back me up on that, anybody that works in the city yard. We have tried to communicate with the schools. I know the high school had a program a year ago, 2 years ago, that was a grant that they maintained their own recycling. And I believe that was with IESI, was the company that was doing it. We have not tried to develop any new sources of trash removal because that's the city's responsibility. But we feel very strongly that recycling is the direction that everyone should want to go. And that's why we volunteer. And I want to thank all the people who do come in on Saturdays and volunteer their time, because it's not a very pleasant job. But there's a lot of misunderstanding here over what is and what is not available. And I repeat, the first Saturday of every month at 8 o'clock in the morning, the city yard is open for recycling. Not the most convenient time, but it is what's available. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Curley. I'm going to say right now, too, I failed to tell people prior to this that there is a 3-minute limit on to keep it. Okay. We have no other citizens' comments on non-agenda items. So we are going to move on to, please call up item number 6.
Approval of minutes from the October 25th, November 3rd, 8th, and 12th, 2011 meetings.
The council previously received copies of these minutes, and have you had a chance, an opportunity to look at these minutes?
I made a motion to approve the minutes as presented. I see no corrections or additions. I second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Mosby to approve the minutes as written. A second by Councilman Smith. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Passes unanimously. Now we are going to move into public hearings at 8 o'clock. Please call up item number 7.
Council will now conduct a public hearing regarding a request by the owner agent of the property situated in the city of Van Alstyne, County of Grayson, State of Texas, being described as abstract number 770, west 65 feet of subdivision 6 and 7 in divisions 3, more commonly known as 261 West Van Alstyne Parkway, for a zone change from C1, Commercial 1, to Single Family 1.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Mayor and Council, thank you. This item was brought before Planning and Zoning Commission yesterday evening. The applicant has requested that we change the zoning of the property located at 261 West Van Alstyne Parkway from C1, which is commercial use, to a single family one, which is single family residential use. It is and was constructed initially as a single family residence, and I believe we have the applicant here if the council would like to have any requests of him about information. And I will say that the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend unanimously for approval to change the C1 to SF1 zoning for this property.
one person looking to rent our property has been for residential purposes, so it was the daycare that had the problems, was in that building, and so I had one inquiry for a daycare, and I said, probably not the best place to pick for a daycare, so, but we've had about 15 inquiries as a resident, so we are set up for either way at this point, so if we could get that changed back so we can get it rented.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Howerton? Does anybody else have any comments? We will now close the public hearing at 8:03 p.m. and move into the consent agenda. Please call up item number 8.
Approve the 2011 tax roll values.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, we just recently were given the 2011 tax roll values. You have those before you. Give you just a moment to come through that. Do you have any questions for city staff that we can answer regarding this?
What is the special assessment levy?
Tina, would you like to please address that for Councilman Smith?
Off of the top of my head, I'm not sure, that I would be more than happy to get an answer from the tax assessor's office for that. I don't have an answer at this point, but I will get that information for you. Do you know?
Staff, do we know if there's any city property that had a use outside of the normal parameters for property tax? Okay, I apologize, I don't know the answer to that, but let's, we'll research it.
Some months ago, someone from the assessor's office or appraisal district came asking the city to approve a special assessment to go towards it was going like towards the rehabilitation of their offices or something. They were going to each city asking for that approval.
Right, yeah.
Do y'all remember that? I don't know if that's what that is or not, but.
It could be. Yeah, I think there is a special fee they add on to help them pay for all their stuff they do. They charge us. It's like they're charged to what we pay them.
And that's so they can, the extra amount so they can build a new office, is that?
Or whatever they do with it.
I remember them saying that was part of what they needed when whoever was here making the presentation.
Do y'all want to get a copy?
I will get that information for the council.
Okay, can you call up item number 9? Oh.
Group 8.
Yeah, but you don't necessarily yeah, you can do it all together as consent. But unless somebody would like to discuss that, yes, we did. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Can you read number?
Authorize the city attorney to draft and send letters detailing the city of Van Alstyne's legal authority to exercise eminent domain authority.
Mayor and Council, this item was brought in the previous Texas legislative session. It's the opportunity for cities, well, let me put it this way, for the state of Texas to grant power for governmental authorities to utilize eminent domain authority going forward cities have to declare that they have that authority to do so. Even though that power comes from the state of Texas, we in turn have to respond in detail for them how we gain that authority. So it may sound a little bit odd, but it's one of those where the cities are and any other governmental authority is having to then detail in a letter format, in a form that we have to fill out to state that we do have eminent domain authority as a city, as a municipality. So, Julie, is there anything that you would add to that?
It is a little odd. The state wants the city to tell the state what laws they've enacted that give you this power. And if you don't do that, then any statute that you don't identify as giving you power, then you will lose the power under that statute.
So this item was brought before you for consideration to allow us and to authorize the city attorney to draft such letters and send those letters in on behalf of the city so that we can keep the authority that we have already been granted previously.
However, years ago, we discussed that here in Van Alstyne. And something came to the table or about to or something in regard to a piece of property that possibly the thought was to go ahead and grant eminent domain. And it would have been a hardship to a family the property had been in their possession for eons. So it just seemed like a good time to consider everything in regard to that, because quite frankly, once this thing gets out of hand and somebody has the authority to do that, which happens too often anyway, that puts people in hardships and harm's way, and with no regard to the history of it, and in this case it would have been like generations passing down through the family. And everybody here can put yourself in that position. If somebody would bounce in here with that authority and say, we're going to do this because we've got ABC wanting to come in here, and we need ABC in here, and it's going to mean a whole lot to Van Alstyne with total disregard to someone who's been here forever. So in regard to that, which I would say, yeah, that's a good word, odd, is to even consider that when in fact we've already taken the position of what we don't want to do here. Now, maybe under certain circumstances, if it was a part of county property or state-owned property or whatever, maybe that's a different case. But when it regards personal, I think we just need to keep hands off.
May I help clarify that just a bit? Right. This would actually procedurally just keep the power in the city's hands to be able to do that if needed. However, the council would never be, it would not be compulsory for them to exercise that authority, and that would any action that we had going forward would be brought forward before council for council consideration. If that's
it would have to be.
Yes, correct. Yes, and so because of that, this would allow eminent domain to remain within the city's authority. However, any choice to actually exercise that going forward would be purely up to the council at that time.
Okay, what if somebody bigger and with more authority would come in here, like say the feds, and just because we have that authority to go to go forward with that procedure, and because of that pretty much, does that lay us open for somebody to come in and slap us around like that too, if it was the feds or the state?
Well, my understanding of it would be that they can choose to. Of course, eminent domain goes back constitutionally, so there's constitutional procedures I believe that they would have to do on the federal level. But as we know, the way that they exercise those authorities is certainly up to them. But this is purely for a local government to be able to exercise it if needed. It's not that just by having this in the toolbox does not mean it's compulsory in any way. It doesn't mean it's required in any way. But it would just continue to have that authority if needed. And as far as the states and federal level, they're operating under a little bit different deal. And of course, with the state, they're the ones, since we're an entity of the state, there will be those cities and towns that choose not to reaffirm that authority, and that they will lose that authority. But that means, from my understanding, Julie, please help me clarify this, but my understanding that is until any other legislative session says otherwise. And so it would be losing that authority on a city level indefinitely, from my understanding.
Sending the letter to the state maintains the status quo. If you don't send the letter to the state, you lose the powers that the city currently has. The situation I think you were speaking of, where it's ABC Company or something, that has actually been removed from the Texas Constitution, where you cannot use eminent domain for economic development purposes any longer. I think that election was November of last year, and it took effect January 1 of this year, the amendment to the Constitution. So that has already been taken away and is not authority that cities have any longer when it's for economic development. It's really just for, you need a sewer line, a water line, widen the road,
Unsafe property.
Facilities, if there's a unsafe property, you need to build a water tower, things like that. The economic development piece that was used, for example, for the new Cowboy Stadium is gone. It's no longer an option.
Any other questions?
Okay. These are on the consent agenda, both of them. Right.
Do you have a motion?
Also move.
The motion is to approve both items, to
Yes.
approve the 2011 tax roll values and authorize the city attorney to draft and send letters detailing the city of Van Alstyne's legal authority to exercise eminent domain authority.
Yes.
We have a motion by Councilman Mosby on items 8 and 9, and a second by Councilman Trammell. All in favor? Raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion passes. We're going to move into the regular agenda, non-consent. We've already addressed item number 10. Can we call up item number 11?
Consider and act upon a request by the owner agent of the property situated in the city of Van Alstyne, county of Grayson, state of Texas, being described as abstract number 770, west 65 feet of subdivision 6 and 7 in divisions 3, more commonly known as 261 West Van Alstyne Parkway, for a zone change from C1, commercial 1, to SF1, single family 1.
Any discussion? Any questions?
I'll make a motion that we take the P&Z board's advice and approve the zone change.
I have a motion from Councilman Smith.
Second.
And a second by Councilman Trammell, Borman.
Okay. You guys can hear.
To accept the P&Z recommendation to change the zone from commercial 1 to SF1. All in favor, raise your hand, right hand. Opposed? Motion passes. Please call up item number 12.
Consider and act upon a policy decision regarding the council's interpretation of section 27.1, ordinance number 557, comprehensive zoning ordinance, as it relates to accessory buildings constructed in the same or complementary style as the main structure.
Mayor and Council, this was an item that had approached me even actually before I got here to the city of Van Alstyne, but previously there has been a question of what complementary style has meant, and it has not been consistent in its usage. And this is one of the ordinances where the authority is vested in me to try to interpret how I see the word complementary, and in the cases that I've seen around the community currently, I haven't been able to sort of assess what the council policy direction would be on what complementary is. My understanding is simply this, that, and from my previous training and understanding would be that a house that is made of one material will have accessory buildings made of similar or like materials, i.e., if it is a stone house, then you would have to use something of maybe like hardy plank or non-wood material to build an accessory building, and you would have to have it match in both style and in color. And so, again, with it being somewhat up to interpretation, which I've currently found there is a situation I will tell you about. There's a gentleman who's requested an accessory building to his house. The house is wood, it's all wood frame, and the accessory building that he would like to build is metal. And so I told him that because I've seen some inconsistencies on how we've applied that previously, that I would bring that before you to see how you would want us as city staff to interpret complementary. And so with that, I'm just seeking clarification so that if, with this case and with future ones, if there's an opportunity for me to know what the council's preference is and what the policy direction is, then I believe I can do a better job of helping to interpret that ordinance. But also, I think for the public, it gives the opportunity to know before applying if what they're asking for is within the council's interpretation of that word as well. So I would ask for clarification on that, and then by doing so, I would like to see on this particular case if there's an opportunity for us to dialogue about that as needed.
I have Mr. Ron Fajon that would like to address the council regarding this item number 12.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Madam Mayor and City Manager, Mr. Rodriguez. Again, I'd like to welcome you to Van Alstyne. And Councilman, thank you for the opportunity to speak before you. I appreciate the introduction to the situation. If I may, to just restate why we're here speaking in this section 27 that was read, said any accessory building that exceeds 200 square feet shall be constructed in the same or a complementary style as the main structure. And I'm here to, not on my own authority, but on the authority of a good friend of ours, Mr. Webster. And it is the word complementary that makes that ordinance ambiguous, number one, to say same or complementary, and number two, complementary opens a wide path. For instance, if you will bear with me, the word complementary in Webster's says the complementary property to blue is not blue. It could be green, it could be purple or brown. That comes right out of the book. Complement is a word added to a predicate to make it complete. He thought her beautiful. He thought her, the predicate, beautiful is the word that complements it. He thought it, if I may, Mr. City Manager, to repeat a response you made to me in the office that said, yes, and you stated what you said here tonight, you stated to me, and in addition, you did make a remark that, well, yes, complementary could be in the eyes of the beholder. And I believe that we understand from what he had presented to us is that he is seeking your assistance to make this more specific in the ordinance so that there is no question about it. My specific concern tonight, and I would applaud you to do that and not leave it as it is, because as it is, by law, complementary, by the Webster Dictionary, it gives a wide path for what it can be. And it does not say, the ordinance does not say, no metal buildings. No metal accessory buildings. Now, if it is the intent of the council, the Planning and Zone Commission, those words are simple and straightforward. So our ordinances should follow that accordingly. Let it be what you want it to be. I'm here, I've lived here for over 20 years. I want to abide by this. I came to City Hall asking, what do I need to do to get a metal building put up, and I need to have a permit. So I said, okay. But I was told then, the beginning of November, that, well, you can't have a metal building. I said, well, okay, so what's the ordinance say? And so as I read it right away, it didn't say no metal building. And that's the purpose of my questioning it. And so I brought the matter to our mayor, and she asked me to, well, would you just wait until the new city manager comes in and present it to him? And that's why you have this now. Well, I respect her for saying, yeah, let's get this thing right.
Sure.
And you, I respect, let's get this thing right. Now, I think that's the second item from my particular biased concern. If it is my concern that brings up the whole issue, you need to make it right. Earlier, I heard, you know, it was a serious meeting, about people breaking the laws. So, I was rather stunned about this. But the same thing, I'm not here to ask for variances or exceptions. A lady said, we need to abide by the law. And I want to abide by the law. And I do not think that there's any thing in this ordinance that I would not be abiding by having a metal building constructed by a professional builder, a respected builder here in Van Alstyne. And I submitted the plans. All the setbacks are way in accordance with. The accessory building is less than 3% of the lot size. Every setback is not just there, but it's way beyond in terms of being set back from adjacent street, side lot, rear street, from the main building. It's 11 feet 8 inches tall. It's shorter than, so it's not 20 feet tall. It's shorter than the main building. Everything is in total compliance. And I ask you, council members, if you will consider this in a right and just way. And I just might add that my good neighbor, and I have a lot of good neighbors, but I have a especially good neighbor right next door to me who was given a permit in this town this year for a metal building, a storage building, which, by the way, inspired me to say, hey, that's just what I need. And so coming to the city hall and saying, well, you can't have a metal building, just floored me. And, no disrespect intended here, but I cannot understand how we, can reconcile that as saying no metal building. It says complementary, okay? And I could amuse you with some things here, Listen, if I may, look, the necessary and completing opposing item. Now, I'm sure I would have known this if I hadn't looked it up, okay? The necessary and completing opposing item. That's a definition of complementary. All right, what is the example that Mr. Webster gave? She had found someone whose masculinity was the very complement of her own fragile graces. There's just a wide swath of what complimentary is. There is no question about it. So please, please, grant me permission to give the go sign to my contractor to do this, and make the law, the ordinance, like you want it, like the people want it, and make it simple to understand. Thank you.
Could part of that have been the difference between maybe a portable and a bill? It's a permanent bill?
That's a permanent bill.
Yeah. His neighbors,
And it's not away from the property.
And so you all know, and Mr. Bergeron, thank you. And he's been very respectful, not only to me, but to the process, and I appreciate that. And really this came down to, in order for, I believe, us as city staff to do the best job that we can with the ordinances that we have, when one pops up like this where the interpretation is difficult for me, the city manager, and I certainly don't want to get into a position that it becomes arbitrary and it sort of becomes meaningless. And I think that with the wording in there, it was intentional. If it is simply that we can have any and all buildings, then quite frankly, I don't think the wording is necessary. However, if there's additional wording that will help us clarify as staff what the city council's preferences would be for these sorts of buildings, then that is what I'm requesting this evening, some direction.
Just for clarification for you.
Correct, correct.
If there's a motion needed, I'll make that motion. We authorize you to clarify that.
Is there discussion? I mean, we can direct the staff to clarify that and bring it back.
Here's the thing is I can bring back different options. I think that for me to go out and seek what those options are, I would just like to hear from you tonight what those, what, as you're looking at an ordinance like this, how do you see that? And what is accurate to the community of Van Alstyne?
I guess you could write an ordinance, I'm not saying this is what, but it could be the same materials for the siding, same kind of roof materials. If it has a metal roof, then it could have a metal roof. If the house has a metal roof, then the building could have a metal roof. If the house has a composition shingle roof, then the building would have a composition shingle roof. As far as being 100% the same materials, I mean, it's like aluminum siding looks like wood siding. I mean, if you want to put aluminum siding on a thing which makes it out of metal, that still is okay because it looks like it's wood siding. Hardy plank's the same way. It looks like wood siding if you're trying to match doors, windows, all the things have to be somewhat in the same design and period as the house would be. I guess if you had a colonial looking house, it would not make sense to make a contemporary looking shed out back. I mean, unless they want. I guess the hard part is if it's covered by a fence around it that's 6 foot tall or it's 8 foot tall and you can't see it, then why is it in our business? But I'm not sure about that.
I have a question. Did you bring the pictures? Did you bring the picture of your?
Well, I don't have a fair picture. I only have a copy of the picture, but I submitted that to Mr. Rodriguez.
Yeah, and I apologize.
And it's there at the office evidently.
Yeah.
But this is just a copy of it.
Yeah, this is.
That doesn't do it justice. It's a very attractive looking building.
Okay.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
Professionally done.
And if we did a flyover, I'll tell you, it doesn't take anybody to realize that on a weekend, folks are going to Home Depot or other places to get the prefabs and everything. I mean, we've got everything. And just in that same regard, I'm kind of at a loss anyway to see what kind of a garage carport I can build, because it's the same kind of ambiguity that I've been running up against. Haven't really pursued it very much, but it was what we started with, and it was still that same question. However, you've got everything from, what you can go out here and buy for $600 that's already prefab and put it in your driveway, and now you've got a carport. Some people obviously, and these things need to be taken into consideration too. They're trying to protect something, usually, and or maybe store something. And we see every version from garages, usually with new construction, and a lot of times immediately a portable building in the backyard behind the garage, in front of the fence or whatever, usually somewhat concealed, which doesn't draw complaints. Everybody realizes that it's there for a reason. It's to use, storage, or whatever. And there's from A to Z, a variety of different materials, not necessarily complement maybe the building that's there with it, but nevertheless, it's not intrusive. And so we have that here already, and it doesn't matter really where. I mean, we can go anywhere and see that.
I would like to say something here because, again, Mr. Fajon did come and visit with me, and I respect him. He is trying to do the right thing. And if he hadn't asked for a copy of the ordinance, he wouldn't have even questioned it. He could have just gone in his backyard and built what he wanted to build and asked forgiveness later, but he chose to do it the right way. And yes, his neighbor did build a metal building that actually does not meet our code, if I understand correctly. Started the project without a permit, correct me if I'm wrong, and at the time, when it was found out that it was started without a permit, our previous city manager said, oh, he's already started it, just let it go. Am I correct? Okay. So that pretty much set a precedence. But Mr. Fajon still, even after those facts, wants to do what's right here. And the situation is, we can choose to allow him, he's got the correct setbacks, actually more than within code. He's got a metal building that, if you saw the color picture, is a very attractive building. It all comes down to what is the definition of complementary, and do we make a decision tonight to allow him to go ahead and build this, or do we?
This building that he's doing doesn't look like a usual metal building.
It's a very nice.
Yeah, it looks like a regular, if you saw it from a long distance, you'd probably think it's a wooden building and wouldn't pay much attention to it.
We've given, since I've been on the council, we've given variances on several occasions. And it's because somebody else has already done it that way, and it's been allowed. And it's not fair to penalize somebody that wants to do the right thing. And the comment I made was, until we have a comprehensive set of ordinances on the book, it would be very difficult to say to one guy, yeah, it's okay because you didn't ask, and then to tell somebody else no. Until we have a comprehensive set of ordinances available, I think we need to let him go ahead and do it.
Yep.
And then we can correct everything in the future. But right now, we have to do the right thing.
And what I would like to do then would be to bring back to council a couple of options for a way to clarify this. So I'm hearing correctly, and what I'd like to sort of get a consensus upon is that our current ordinance may not address exactly what that is. And so the council's intention would be to try to clarify what that is if somebody tries to bring forward another accessory building, and that you would ask that in this scenario, under the current ordinance, that I act in a way that would be consistent with what has been done previously until we amend the ordinance. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay. Really, is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
We need that in the
So
form
just
of
a
motion.
direction of this motion.
Direction is sufficient.
Okay.
Thank you.
The council directs that the current structure that's in question will be allowed to continue being built and be permitted, as long as it's in accordance with the remainder of the codes.
Yes. And so I wish to thank all of you. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for your
Are you going
kind...
to paint it blue?
Green. It's a green building.
It has to be complimentary. So
Yes, right.
Ron, how big is it? What is it?
Oh, excuse me, yes, it's 20 by 30. So it's 600 square feet, which exceeds 200 square feet, and therefore comes under, you know, more rigid code requirements. So it's 600 square feet.
Are you gonna run a nightclub in it or something?
20 by 30.
Okay,
Is it an engineer building? Or is it
Yes,
just-
I think,
So
I
is it-
say yes, but say more about what you're
All right.
asking me.
Engineer metal buildings require a federal specification. Is it that type, or is this just by design
I
to
don't
meet your
know,
needs?
because I don't know, but it's being contracted to Steel Incorporated, which is, they do a lot of high industrial stuff all around the country.
All right,
So
that probably
they're on the
answers that question.
southbound side of 75
Or no.
Service Road. Now, the application for the permit is in your office, Mr. Rodriguez. So is it my understanding that you will forward that to Veritas, or are they in the picture or out of the picture? Is this already a go and an approval?
I don't believe there's any other, did you already check the proportions, Tina?
I did check the setback requirements, and he does meet all of the setback
Okay.
requirements.
Yeah, the proportion is that it takes up 3%. It's 600 square feet to a 25,000 square foot lot.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, we'll get that through for you. If you'd like to stop by City Hall at your convenience going forward, you can
Well, thank you.
get your approval.
Well-
And then council, we will, we as staff will bring forward something very soon to help clarify this so that we can do the right thing going forward as well.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Can you pull item number 13, please?
Yes, ma'am. Consider and act upon deeds, easements, and release needed for street right-of-way and drainage utility easement from the Van Alstyne Church of Christ as follows. Drainage easements with temporary construction easement, church corner lot. Drainage easement with temporary construction easement, church office lot. Street right-of-way deed, church corner lot. Street right-of-way deed, church office lot. Release from church related to drainage easement.
Mayor, I'd like to defer this to Julie, who's been working on this side. This, basically, this gives us the opportunity to both correct some things that have been done previously regarding deeds and easements, but also for us to address future work that needs to be done in that area.
I feel like my voice is not carrying, so use this. This project or this process to get to this point has been going on for well over a year. I believe it initially came up when some road improvements were being done, and the church came to City Hall and questioned whether there was adequate right-of-way for the road work that was being done, and whether there was a drainage easement for drainage that occurs as a result of the road being where it is. And so after working through the process with the church did agree. The church has two separate lots. That's why you have two easements and two deeds. They have the property that the church itself is on, and then behind that, there's a lot that has a house that they use as an office. So the church is granting to the city a drainage easement on both lots and a temporary construction easement in order for some drainage improvements to be located there. And then a street right-of-way deed for where the current road is and the right-of-way that is needed to accommodate the road. And that is being done on both lots. They are also they expressed concerns that they might have some claims against the city based on some water damage and the work being done before the deeds and easements occurred. And so that was an issue we also discussed with them. They are also willing to provide a release to the city in regards to those claims in exchange for the drainage and work actually being done, and for compensation for all of these things in the amount of $1,500. Their attorney, Michelle Vickery, has reviewed all of the documents during this process and has approved those forms. And I believe Mr. Shannon Jackson, I think I saw him earlier, he's still here, is here. I don't know if he's signed up to speak tonight or not on the church's behalf, but he has been involved pretty intimately in the process as well as we've gone down this road. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them for you.
My understanding is, back, like I said, a year or so ago, council already approved $1,500 and all of the easements. The agreement between the Church of Christ and the council was already there.
The deal points were approved by the council, and we went back and drafted the documents based on the direction that the council provided. When cities are accepting right-of-way and easements, or when property is being given to the city, it's preferable practice for them to actually be accepted, to accept the deed, to accept the easement. And so that's part of the reason for this agenda item, is just to, now that the documents have been drafted based on the direction the council gave, to accept them.
So this is the only holdup as to why it hasn't been completed?
As far as I know.
So do we need a motion to approve what we've already approved?
Well, for the release.
You need a motion to accept, you approved the deal points, but you didn't approve the physical documents themselves that were drafted based on those deal points.
Right, you should have the documents in front of you, hopefully, that Julie has drafted, along with their attorney, I believe, to make sure that these are in the city's best interest as well, as the churches. I'll give you the whole item.
Any more questions or discussion? Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we accept the approval of the request as presented.
Councilman Mosby?
A through E.
I'll second that.
Councilman Mosby made a motion to consider and act upon the deeds easement release needed for street right-of-way and drainage utility easement from Van Alstyne Church of Christ as follows, A through E. And Councilman Smith seconds. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion passes. Please call up item 14.
Consider an act upon amending the Van Alstyne Community Development Corporation budget in the amount of $20,000 in order to fund a loan to the Van Alstyne Economic Development Corporation.
Julie, can we call both items together? Would that be appropriate?
Yes, sir.
Can you call 15 also, please?
Yes, ma'am. Consider an act upon amending the Van Alstyne Economic Development Corporation budget in the amount of $20,000 in order to accept a loan from the Van Alstyne Community Development Corporation.
I believe we have John Parton here, who is the president of the Economic Development Corporation. Can you explain this to the council, please?
The function of this, or the purpose is, we made a commitment to the city, or to help fund the gas line on the west side of the highway, and our commitment was $20,000. EDC committed 20, and I think the CDC committed 20, and the college committed money, and so we have, right now, we have plenty of money, but most of our money in the EDC is in restricted funds and revolving loan funds. So we don't have enough of the unrestricted funds to give the city the $20,000, but the CDC does. So it's a win-win with the CDC and the EDC, because we can borrow the money from them and pay them an interest that which would be higher than what they could get at the bank, and then we don't have to go to the bank to borrow money that would be at a higher interest rate. So we're asking the city council then, and consultation with the attorney said that was perfectly legal to do, but it had to be a budget amendment and had to be passed by the city council.
Any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the amendment to both budgets?
Make that motion.
Councilman Trammell makes a motion to approve the amendments to the EDC and the CDC budgets. Do I have a second? Billy? Oh, Mr. Flake. Councilman Flake, seconds. All in favor? Raise your right hand. Opposed? Councilman Flake, Trammell, Mosby, and Gorman vote in favor. Councilman Smith opposed.
Thank you.
Call item 16, please.
Consider and vote on nominee for Central Appraisal District Board.
This position has previously been filled by Mr. Paul Curley. No, I'm sorry. Wrong one. Sorry. Tina.
You have before you, on the appraisal district ballot, they sent you the names of the persons who have indicated that they would serve on the board. The city of Van Alstyne has 38 total votes. You can pass these votes, all 38, for one party. You can split these votes between each one of the nominees. You might want to consider casting all 38 votes for one nominee. That way you get the most punch out of your vote. But it is certainly council's decision as to how they want to distribute those votes, who they vote for.
Mr. Charles Williams is a resident here, right? Yes. So he might be the, I mean, I'm just saying that he might be the best one to represent it since he's from our area.
When I talked to Charles, or Charlie, he said there's a move from Sherman ISD to dominate this board. And the intention is to have people from, and Jerry Stout, Dr. Jerry Stout would also be representing a smaller area. They're trying to not allow Sherman ISD to control the appraisal district. And he would be more than willing to do that. It still takes a lot of votes. There's may or may not be able to, but I think we need to show support for someone that's local and understands the system. And I will make the motion to cast all 38 votes for Charles Williams.
I'll second.
Can you ask a question? Have they talked it over between, and you know, Jim, where they've talked it over between the two of them? Is there's one, maybe that everybody got together and said, this is the good one to do, all the smaller groups?
I wouldn't want to admit that was,
okay,
that practice was going on.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
We're just trying to keep the
Who do you say that case
Sherman ISD from controlling the county.
You know, they need some good people on that appraisal board. If anybody's ever experienced that, it's not it doesn't seem very fair at all. There's a lot of very legitimate folks that go in there protesting and that come out crying and they've got very legitimate reasons why they're in there. And good people need to be on that board. We try to help some of these folks.
I think he's pretty close.
Okay, so I have a motion from Councilman Smith to cast all 38 votes for Charles Williams, and Councilman Mosby seconds. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, motion passes. Please call up item 17.
Consider and vote on a nominee for the Greater Texoma Utility Authority.
Now, this is the one that Paul Curley has previously served on this board and has graciously accepted to continue to serve on the board. Do you want to say anything, Mr. Curley?
No, in the benefit of the hour and the time we've spent here, I'll pass.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we reappoint Mr. Curley for that position.
Second.
Who's second? Councilman Smith, motions that we appoint Paul Curley back to that position. Councilman Trammell, seconds. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. Please call up item number 18.
Consider and act upon amending the City of Van Alstyne capital budget to appropriate $175,000 to fund sewer issues.
Mayor and Council, this item is one that I know you're familiar with from my predecessors, but the fact is we do have some collapsed sewer lines and some things that TCEQ has identified with us that we do need to correct. And in the spirit of obviously trying to maintain good services for our residents, we would request this amendment to the budget so that we can not only identify what those issues are specifically, but then fund the corrective repairs necessary.
Do we know what the cost will be? Yeah.
We have not gone out to bid, as far as my understanding, for those yet, but that would be our next step if this amendment were to.
Are we going to, I think Clement Street is a possibility of one.
Clement Street has been one that's identified.
Are we going to fix the street at the same time?
With all of these issues, it would be for us to first address the sewer problem, and then for us to see financially what we could do with the street thereafter. I mean, obviously, a lot of these lines are running under streets, and so we will repair those as needed. But as far as complete rehab of those streets, that has been identified in this way.
The other part is the Brahms sewer line.
Correct. That's also on that list. Yeah.
Those two things. I mean, are there others?
Yes. Well, and this was the thing is that those are a couple that have been identified currently. We. With me being new on board, I wanted the opportunity to assess and prioritize and rank what our largest needs were first. And from what I understand, those will those both will be high on the list, but I didn't also want to tie our hands to say that those were the only ones that we would address. And then, of course, if there is something that's identified in the short term that we need to address outside of those two, then I want the opportunity to do so.
But those would be the two with priority.
Those two have been identified as needing our attention.
The one at Brahms has been, and correct me if I'm wrong, I talked to different people about it. When they first built their building, every time it rained, the sewer water backed up into their building. The city put a check valve in that doesn't allow that, but they can't use their drains when it rains too much. And the solution to that is to go down the access road to our lift station just south of Brahms. It seems like it would behoove the city and working through the chamber, because Brahms is talking to other people. You open a building in Van Alstyne, you may or may not be able to flush your stool. So that should carry an extreme priority as far as the public relations of the town. And the people that have sewer gas in their house on Plymouth Street too.
Right, and from a staff perspective, we simply, I would like the opportunity to make sure that I know what the public safety issues are with each of these, and then any others that have been identified, and for us to move to correct these in the short term. So, but the next step would be, if the funding is there and approved this evening, then we can go out for bids on some of these specific jobs.
How long will it take?
Adam, would you mind helping me on this one?
For the bronze one, once they get started, if they're just going from bronze to the lift station, once they actually start digging, I wouldn't think it would take them more than a couple of weeks.
Okay. But to actually get the bid process, that's a longer process than actually digging a hole for the
typically.
water.
But this is something that we can make a priority for the staff level as well.
I'll make a motion that we amend the City of Van Alstyne capital budget.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Smith to amend the capital budget to appropriate the $175,000 to fund sewer issues, and a second by Councilman Gorman. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes.
Mayor, we don't have any items that I'm aware of coming, needing to go into an executive session. We can move back to 19.
Okay, we do not have any executive session this evening. So we're going to move on to item 19, City Manager's Report.
Mayor and Council, this will be an opportunity each meeting for me to let you know of items that I think should be of importance to you all and to the public. But this evening, I would just like to take the opportunity to thank you for the opportunity to be here and to serve in this capacity. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm enjoying myself, and folks have been very warm to me already, which I really appreciate. I'm very proud of our staff so far. They've really stepped up their professionalism and sort of, I know I came in with a lot of expectations, and so far they've been very gracious to go with me on that journey, and I hope to offer the leadership that keeps inspiring them to do so. I do want to make one quick note on personnel. Adam Lambert, would you stand up real quick? Adam has been tasked with not only the Parks and Recreation Department, which he has been previously overseeing, but he's also currently on an interim basis overseeing our Public Works Department. And last night, those guys worked very, very hard, very diligently to get our water back online. So thank you, Adam. I drove out there to check out that site last night, and of course taking calls and all those kinds of things. But when I went out there, those guys were like popsicles. It's cold out there; they're soaking wet, and but they worked very hard, and didn't think about those issues. So thank you guys. But with that, I have no other things to report at this time.
Does any of the council have any closing comments they want to make?
As for those of you who were here at the beginning, there were some statements made about how everything was handled in where I was removed from the council. If any of you are interested, I will be happy to go outside afterwards and explain my side of the story so I can answer some of your questions. I'm going to plan on the next council meetings at, getting a possibility of coming up and doing the same thing. So people hear my side of the issue since I wasn't allowed to say anything. Thank you.
Thank everybody for coming, and I hope that you were able to hear us better this evening with the microphones. And as you can tell, progressively we're looking a whole lot nicer as we go along with the, we're getting classy. Anyways, thank you for coming. I appreciate everybody's comments and your willingness to come and be a part of what we are doing here in Alstyne. And without any more comments, we are adjourned.